What's up, YouTube? So today's topic, I'm gonna talk about some shit that's been like really going on in my mind lately, and I feel like I need to speak this out because like this shit is really starting to really piss me the fuck off, man. Just how life in general. I feel like I experience things and not too many people experience in this lifetime. I feel like I've experienced a lot of like spiritual things that people can't really grasp or fucking understand, and a lot of people I've learned, but just by observing them, people only believe what they see. They don't really think outside the box. Even people in the spiritual community, like most of them, like they don't think outside the box. They don't think like they just don't think like what Chauncey once said. Like they all operate from a fucking program. It's just frustrating, man. So because like it's pissing me off because I'm aware of my path. I'm aware, I mentioned this on my videos, I'm aware that I'm meant to break generational curses. I'm meant to heal my bloodline. I'm here to heal my trauma and shit like that. But it gets to the point, and I feel like my spiritual mission is also meant to kind of like help teach people or to guide people on how to break generational curses, or how to heal, or like how to pick yourself back up, how to bounce back from grueling situations. And the reason why I say this is because, well, one, I can make endless videos on how to do that, but also like God or the universe or like a certain energy. When I say God, you don't have to believe in God. You can refer to as your higher self, spirit, ancestors, universe, whoever the fuck. I'm just gonna say God just to make it easier, because I don't want to say all these fucking terms. But I just feel like God purposely, because like one way, in my opinion, now I'm not sure this works for everyone because we're all different, and I feel like my life path is very unique and different compared to the average robotic fucking person. But I just feel like God really, like, one way to tell what your life mission or like what your life purpose is if you experience a lot of like roadblocks, hardships, and painful trial and errors when it comes to certain situations, when it seems like it's not really your fault, but it's like you don't have free will over these situations. It just seems like life or the devil or God is just throwing these obstacles and bullshit towards your way. And you see other people where like they don't even put in half as much as work as you do. They're not even better than you do. They're not even at your level. But for some reason, you keep experiencing a lot of setbacks and roadblocks when it comes to certain situations. Like you're kind of attacked. That's a clear indicator that's part of your soul mission. So, for example, let's say, for example, you really desire love. Like when it comes to family, you desire to have a loving relationship and shit like that. This video is gonna be kind of heavy for me because I'm using my examples. Okay, so the things I really desire in my life is to have a loving family, but to also be in a very romantic relationship that's very divine, or like, you know, that's very like a very close bond when it comes to romantic relationship, but also desire to be around like loving friends and family and just people. There's a lot of love when it comes to connections. Unfortunately, God has really restricted that in my life in this lifetime, because just all the things I've experienced, just like physically and spiritually. Like physically, like I had to cut people off. Like my family members, like they were very abusive. Like they use their hands towards me. They verbally attacked me. They like kicked me out the house multiple times. They've ganged up on me. They called the police on me. They've done a lot of like very like horrible shit that wasn't even my fault. And yes, I defended myself, I fought back, but it's out of self-defense. But at the same time, it's like I had no choice but to get away from them, because at this point it's like I'm dealing with some type of like demonic possession or some type of spiritual warfare type of shit, where like it was enough. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why I've even joined the military and the army, because I feel like the army and the military, it did save my life in a way. Unfortunately, it deals with combat and fighting. So this is how this world is, because this world is very evil. This world is very hell. Again, I blame God. A lot of people in the spiritual community, they may disagree because they operate from a program, in my opinion, but they don't really question anything. The same people, they don't question anything. So this is why in my videos I feel like God is responsible for a lot of like destructive shit. I do have a lot of bitterness and anger towards God based on the things I've been through. If I rightfully so, I feel like the average person wouldn't even last, or they'll even or they'll justify what I've experienced, because I have a hard time trusting God, because like I feel like God has let me down on a lot of times, or like it's just people in general where like I always give people the benefit of the doubt, and people have been disappointing the fuck out of me, like people. And it's not that like, it's weird though, because like I'm better than these people, like they're not at my level, but it's like, again, it's like God is like not allowing me to be around like-minded people. It's hard to explain, because I feel like the shit I'm experiencing is very spiritual. Like God, it just seems like God is placing a lot of like restrictions and withholding for me to experience like being around like-minded people. Just the fact that me being subjected and born into a narcissistic family so I could break generational curses, and me had to cut all them off, and me being around people to where like I'm forced to cut them off as well, and cuss them out, because like it's not a coincidence, because a lot of people also experience the same things I'm experiencing, and it's like, and not just with that, but our life paths leading up to it, like when it comes to our like connections, when it comes to our relationships. And I'm not talking about like a trauma bond, or I'm not talking about where like your subconscious, unconscious mind dictates your reality, like some people like to say. I feel like it's bullshit. I feel like it is true to a certain extent, but there gets to the point, at least in my life, where like these cycles, they always come and go over and over again. I feel like, wait, hold up, is it really because of my trauma? Is it really because like I'm attracting that shit based on my subconscious mind, based on my upbringing? Because my family, they weren't even that bad. They weren't destructive. They just, as over time, as I gotten older, like life has kind of beaten them down. And not only that, but I do personally believe there's a lot of demonic entities at play, where they kind of manipulating their thoughts in a way, because they're just so beaten down from life that it just forced them to kind of vibrate low. So that gives room for demonic entities to kind of like hijack their minds and shit to attack me. I personally do believe in that shit. You guys may think it's new age. I don't give a fuck, because I know what I've experienced is not normal. It's some evil shit going on. So where was I getting at? Shit, I lost track. But anyways, what I'm saying is that the things I've experienced, like it's repetitive. It's always cycles. It's like spiritual attacks. So it's not. Yes, it is scientific. My upbringing, and it could be that, but it's not that at all. Because if I'm constantly healing and putting in the work, and the average person who's not even as healed, or they're more damaged than me, but they're able to attract like-minded people and relationships. I understand, because these people are very shallow, so they attract shallow connections. Not only that, but either that and or their spirit or soul, they don't have enough depth. So the things they're attracting, there's like Chanton even talked about this, like because I think he mentioned something like the more powerful your spirit or your soul is, then the more intense your life is going to be. I personally do believe in that, because it makes sense, because the people who aren't even going through half of what I'm going through, but they're able to attract friends and like that are like-minded like them, and relationships like them. But if I was to have the same things like these guys have, I'll be unsatisfied, and I will cut these people off, not because they're disrespectful or mean, but because they're just too shallow, and I don't fuck with them like that. You know what I'm saying? So I crave more depth. I crave more intensity, probably because of my soul or spirit. I could be wrong, but I know it sounds kind of egotistical, but it just seems like it. Either that, or just like, yeah, it is that. It has to be, you know? Either that, or people just chose to experience harder life paths and harder life missions because they have a greater purpose in life. I do believe in that. I do believe the more great you're meant to become, the more important your life mission and purpose is, then you have an important spiritual mission, then the more intensity you're going to go through, the more setbacks, the more roadblocks, the more obstacles you're going to go through. I personally do believe in that, because if you look at patterns between people who have a huge influence within the collective, within people, even people who have a lot of spiritual knowledge or just information, anything, if you look at their backgrounds, if you look at their life, like there's always some type of like intense suffering that they had to endure and or currently enduring. You know what I'm saying? Whereas people who don't have much of an impact in life, like they didn't really go through much. You know what I'm saying? and they kind of had life kind of handed to them. But just like what Chauncey once said, the same people were like, we think they have an easy life, to them that's hard, but for us that's not even hard, because they're a weaker spirit, or like they're like a newer spirit, or their mission's not that influential. So you know what I'm saying? So but yeah, because me, my core wound is abandonment, rejection, and not feeling whole or worthy. I want to say worthy, but more so abandonment and rejection. Now, that probably is a childhood wound, because I was raised around retarded parents and family members, because unfortunately I was meant to break generational curses. So God purposely made me be subjected and born into a very stupid ass family, into a very stupid ass bloodline, and God purposely made these people do a lot of damage in my life. So now I'm forced to heal that by God putting me through more bullshit when it comes to twin flame connections, all these fucking soul ties, these spiritual bullshit ass connections, so I can, all these trauma bonds, so I can heal not only my fucking trauma, but for my fucking bloodline's trauma. Do you know how fucking frustrating that is? Do you know how fucking annoying that is? Because there are times where, like, I'm not suicidal, but there are times where, like, man, like, because I be driving, I'm like, man, like, is this shit even worth it? Like, when is this shit gonna stop? Where I constantly attracting fucking trauma bonds and these fucking twin flame connections. I got 2 twin flames in this fucking lifetime. Do you know how fucking draining that is? And I knew how these cycles are gonna play out. The runner chaser phase, the obsessive thinking, the feelings person energy. I seen this shit before, because once I knew that second person I'm dealing with was my twin flame, I knew how these cycles are gonna play out before the energies were kicking in. Now, like days or weeks later, the energies were kicking in, and I predicted the fucking cycles that me and this person were going to experience, and we're going through this shit right now. It's fucking crazy, man. And there's a lot of like synchronicities too, because there are times where, like, I don't want to think about this person, or like I don't want to deal with this person, but then whenever I'm driving, and because me and this person, we both live in the same building but different rooms, because we're both in the military, so we're both in the barracks, and we're both like because we're both in the same, I don't want to get too much into personal detail, but basically at a parking lot, like earlier today, like all the cars were parked, all the fucking cars were parked. This person's car, and there's only one open space in that parking lot. So I was driving around looking for like an open space. It was all full. But that one space that was open, I fucking parked there, and that person that was I feel like my twin flame, or I have a spiritual connection with, that person parked, like that person's car is already parked in front of me out of all the spaces. And I'm like, come on. So I'm always seeing this person's car, or like either this person's always parking next to me, or I'm parking next to this person, because, you know, so I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And even when we were before the runner and chaser stage, when me and this person were talking, like, because there are times where, like, we're like, there's always some type of synchronicity, because there are times when I'll leave my door, and because we'll always walk across from each other during our talking stage. We'll always coincidentally see each other and talk to each other. Like, we'll always walk across from each other, because whenever I'll get out the building, that's when she'll get out her car, and then we'll see each other as we walking across from each other, or vice versa. When I'm getting out of the car, then she'll get out the building. Like, we'll both go to each other's cars at the same time, or like we'll both leave work at the same time. So it's like, it's some crazy ass shit. But then once me and that person went to that runner chaser phase, now we don't even see each other like that. You know what I'm saying? Now, coincidentally, we haven't spoken. We're like, we haven't even seen each other. Like, there's certain life situations where, like, we can't even see each other at work. You know what I'm saying? So is this shit like that, where, like, that's the type of shit I'm experiencing. Like, I experience spiritual shit like that. You know, so what the fuck? So it's like, and it's like no one really talks about this shit. And what makes it worse is that, like, God doesn't put people in real life where I can fucking talk about this shit, because they're not experiencing this shit. So I'm like, so life is very frustrating, because there are times like, man, like, should I just kill myself? Because it's like, why am I dealing with all this bullshit? I'm too grown. I've been through too much. Like, why am I experiencing all this bullshit? And what makes it worse is that I feel this person's energy. Like, I feel a lot of fucking sexual energy, like a lot of heart pains, I feel this person's grief. I'm like, come on, dude, what the fuck is going on? Because, like I said in my previous videos, I don't like this person. It's the fucking energy. Because I've experienced this shit with multiple people. It's not the person, it's the fucking energy. The traits these people have, I don't fuck with. But it's a fucking trauma bond, so I can't really bypass, or I can't get through the fucking energy. It's a fucking soul tie. So like, come on, dude. And then the more you try to get away from that shit, more synchronicities will pop up. It sucks for me because me as a person, we work together pretty much, or like we work at the same place, the military, and we both get out in our contract. We both get out at the same fucking date in 2026 in February. So it's like, what the fuck, you know what I'm saying? We both have the same birthdays, both the same zodiac signs. So it's this shit's crazy, man. So but yeah, but just and how our connection played out, because twin flames are meant to trigger you. So how this person is acting, reacting, this person pretty much ghosted me and shit like that after this person kind of fucking letting me on and shit and flirting with me. So I asked this person out. This person told me, oh, when are you going? So I thought, okay, bet. So she wants to hang out, and then she never fucking responded. But yet this person still tends to park at the same car as me out of all the parking spots. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I'm saying? So this fucking person can't be stuck. So and that's part of twin flame. I'm not saying I'm not justifying the label. Again, I don't. If this person comes back, I'm gonna deny the fuck out of that person. I don't want that person, despite the connection. But I'm gonna reject the fuck out of that person for her putting me through this bullshit. But I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of synchronicities. It's hard to detach. But it's just like, usually with twin flame connections, it plays out like that. There's where you get your running and chaser face. I'm like, not this shit. I've already dealt with this shit in my previous relationships. I'm not gonna fucking put up with this shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and it sucks too, because like I'm putting in so much work. I put in a lot of healing work, a lot of self-development. And why am I still around like people who aren't at my level? Why am I around people who are just low vibrational? Why am I attracting females who are just fucking stuck up and bitchy and just low vibrational, and they got nothing to offer emotionally? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, dude. Like, what the fuck, dude? So this shit gets frustrating. And unfortunately, I'm like, the more I'm experiencing shit like this, unfortunately, I don't agree with it, but this is how it is. Unfortunately, I feel like God wants my life purpose to be healing the collective, healing people, healing generational trauma. So it makes sense that God purposely puts losers in my life and stupid ass people that I really want to beat their fucking asses and cuss them out. So it makes sense that God constantly puts these people around my fucking life, just so I could learn from these people, and so God could re-traumatize me and trigger more wounds within me, so I could understand it, experience it, and so I could fucking talk about it and teach people on how to overcome it. So that's pretty much my life path, pretty much, which makes sense because I have a Scorpio rising, Scorpio moon, and usually with Scorpio moons and risings, they go through a lot of betrayal, they go through a lot of family trauma and bullshit. It's fucking stupid, man. Because it's like, I can't live life with a peace of mind, because it's always like, I'm always triggered, and it's not. I understand it's not me. This is like what Chauncey once said. I forgot what he said, but I think he said, I could be wrong, don't quote my word, I don't want to twist up his words. I think he said something like, the mind is not yours, and I think he said the body is not yours as well. So it makes sense, because the mind, it traumatizes you, it creates scenarios, or like not create scenarios, but because there's like a God or an energy or like a higher power at play that controls your mind. So it makes sense that when Chauncey once says you're not the mind or the body, it makes sense because God controls that shit. He controls your nervous system, which makes sense. And he even mentioned that. He even mentioned like, that's why certain people, they could do the right things, the right steps, the right procedures, but their spirit or higher self dictates when they'll move past that shit based on their soul mission, the shit they want to experience, or their karma. So this shit gets deep. So we don't have free will like that. I don't know why people think, most spiritualists think we have free will. No, the fuck we don't. If you haven't really experienced twin flame connections, or you haven't experienced like certain life experiences, like generational curses, or like certain like spiritual soul ties, in my opinion, you really don't know the depth of like how much of how life is, pretty much. This is my opinion. So man, just talking about this is healing my heart, because I feel like I need to address this shit. Because there's no way in hell I deserve to experience all those things. I understand life is not fair. As human beings, we all go through fucked up situations. But I feel like life shouldn't be like that. But apparently, I guess life is like that, because if you look at everyone's lives, we all go through problems, and not just minor problems, but every human being in his life, it seems, they go through heavy amounts of fucking trauma. Why is that? I've read an article, I've heard something, supposedly that as souls and spirits, when we reincarnate into a human body, or incarnate into a human body, the human experience, or Earth in general, the 3D realm, is very painful. There's a lot of suffering. It's very traumatizing. For the sole purpose of souls and spirits to learn lessons. So Earth is like a school, pretty much. And the more bullshit and trauma and pain you go through as a soul and spirit in a human body, the more you're able to advance and as a soul and spirit. This is why Earth supposedly is like a hot spot for a lot of souls and spirits to want to get into, so they could advance and they could ascend at a much higher rate compared to other fucking realms and experiences. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, then that makes a lot of sense. Because if you look at everyone's lives, they all go through some type of trauma, mental health issues, or some type of like traumatic situations in life. We all go through suffering. I'm not talking about minor suffering. I'm not talking about the duality of life. I'm talking about like intense amounts of bullshit, pretty much. We all go through it. I don't agree with it, but this is how it is. And it looks different for each person. It could, and I'm not gonna explain it, but you guys should already know. But so it's like, come on, dude. So it's just fucking annoying. I'm just fed up with this shit. And like I said, because I booked a lot of personal tarot readings, and she mentioned that like eventually in this lifetime I will experience in having the love of my life, like a life partner, and it's gonna be like it's one of those like romantic relationships where like it's very like blissful and stuff like that. I actually get to experience that later in life, and I'm not sure if I'm meant to have a family. That'd be cool. So supposedly, and it makes sense that, and my tarot reader also mentioned that one of my blessings eventually in this life is that I'm going to meet like-minded people and connections when it comes to friendships that will catch me off guard. And it's interesting because she mentioned that because she mentioned that with me, like I tend to look at people very like pessimistically, or I have a very negative viewpoint of people because I've always been around very shitty people. And eventually in my life, in this lifetime, that I'm gonna actually meet like-minded people and things that really caught me off guard that I didn't think were real or true, you know what I'm saying? So it makes sense. And like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, all like the things you're meant to like the all the desires and your heart's desires that you really want in this life, God is gonna fucking restrict that and make you go through so much bullshit and take all that shit away from you. I don't know why. So you can learn lessons, so you can like appreciate it more. I don't know what. I think Chanto even talked about this to a certain degree. The things you want, you have to go through so much bullshit and pain for you to get that, so you can appreciate it, or because just what Chanto once said, in this life nothing is free. So if you want to become a millionaire, if you want romantic love, like-minded people, a family, then you got to experience all the opposites of that and restrictions and so much pain, trial and error just to get those things. So like I said earlier in this video, it makes sense that, like I said before, I always wanted to be in a romantic relationship. I always wanted a loving family. My family and the family I want to have with my romantic partner, and like friendships, right? And all these areas of my life, it's been restricted the most. It's been like the opposite, you know? I've met the opposites. I'm subjected to a narcissistic, abusive family. I'm always attracting very narcissistic, evil, not evil, that's kind of extreme, but very narcissistic, emotionally unavailable, bitch-ass women. I'm always attracting bitch-ass people who betray me, who steal money and just shit like that, where I had to cut off a lot of people when it comes to connections like that. You know, so this is what I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? Even with Chanto, like I feel like with Chanto, one of his life purpose is to help guide people or to help teach people about health. But if you look at early in his life, he's been through a lot of health problems, But now you see him today, he's teaching people on how to like improve your health. So it's like, you see where I'm getting at. Is this, I don't agree how God does things, but it's just the bullshit of this human experience. Like, when is enough is enough. This is why like, all the points I made early in this video is fucking valid. But a lot of people, they don't think like that. And that's a fucking problem. Because the shit I'm talking about, it needs to be addressed. More people need to be talking about it. Because it's bullshit how like, because and people actually experience this. People actually have a fucked up nervous system. I know people who actually has a fucked up nervous system, and they're pretty much fucked for this lifetime because of the narcissistic family and the narcissistic exes that they were subjected to. It's part of their fucking soul contract or karma, or like whatever the fuck, or orchestrated by a higher power. I personally doubt I have abandonment rejection issues. I do believe I have those based on my upbringing with my bullshit ass family. But at the same time, I feel like I've healed most of it. But I also feel like God is kind of adding on to more like very painful romantic connections, just so God could re-amplify, or God could like re-wound or like re-attack these wounds so I can heal it. This is why I mentioned in my previous videos. You go through trauma, you go through abuse, you overcome it, you heal it, and then you go through more trauma and abuse and you heal it. You can fully heal it, but God will find a situation to like create a new wound within you. Not saying because you had it all along, so you're meant to heal it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like God will literally create a new wound in you, just so you like God can re-traumatize you, just for the purpose for you to fucking heal it. I really do believe in that. But unfortunately, in part of my life mission and purpose, I believe, because I keep fucking experiencing it, since I'm meant to break generational curses, I'm constantly going to have to feel a lot of abandonment, a lot of rejection, and a lot of like unself-worthiness. It's very, like, you just feel shitty, especially with these twin flame connections, because they're gonna mirror that. But it's not your fault. It's the more so because you're subjected to that bullshit out of your control, because God wanted you to experience all this stupid ass shit. That's why. Fucking stupid, man. Just so you can heal the what? Help the collective. Like, I don't give a fuck about them. Like, this is. I'm not gonna get into it, but I'm about to hit the gym. I gotta release that steam. Fucking pissed off because I got a lot of shadow work and healing I gotta fucking do, man. I'm not. This shit's. But have a good one. Peace.